Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Six Creative Spirits podcast. Sherrie and I are having a blast. Sherrie McCartney from Creative Mermaids and Kate Donnell here from Gumbits by the Sea. We're having a blast doing these recordings for whoever comes across them, whether on SoundCloud or YouTube. We are just loving that we are voicing whatever messages feel appropriate and very spirit-led at the time, and issues that are pretty pressing for us at the moment, which we're quickly discovering are super pressing or necessary for other people as well. And yeah, I did say voicing a little intentionally there, because today we're talking about voicing, speaking up, clearing, activating the throat chakra so that you can clearly communicate what you need for yourself and the other people around you. Over to you, Sherrie.
Yes. Well, I think this actually follows perfectly from the boundaries conversation last week of, putting up the safety and saying this is what I need. But it also means being able to say, yeah, not just I need to stop you where you are, but also saying, okay, I need this. What do I need? And not being afraid to say, I need this. I think also with the boundaries, the other person is also okay to say no. And I think this is where we get confused. And this is, for me, I've always had this problem of hating to ask for help. And the only thing worse than asking for help is hearing someone say, no, they can't do it. It's like, I've been crushed. And at the same time, it's like, well, maybe that person just honestly couldn't do it. And that's fine. It was not a reflection on me. It was a reflection on what was going on in their lives at that moment. And I can look for it for somebody else. Or the other thing we should talk about is the flip side, is just someone can never meet you where you are. If you always need to give and you can never get back, well, then you've got an energy mismatch that you need to then be like, I have to let this person fall away. Both huge things, both important topics to talk about, but when is it an energy mismatch? When is it just something going on in that person's life? But why is it always important to say, this is what I need, and it's okay if you can or can't meet it?
Yes. Wow. Do you know?
KK's like, shit. Shit.
Always. This is how I integrate Sherrie's words. I go, yeah. But the big trigger for me at the moment is listening. So, it's like, yes, activate your voice chakra, throat chakra, speak up. It's safe to voice your needs and desires. But yes, like Sherrie said, be prepared that they too are entitled, are welcomed, are encouraged to have activated throat chakras. And it's important that you listen just as much as you voice. Listen to self, listen to others. So there's a bigger picture at play here. And I think that's what I'm digesting. I'm like, we're just going to spend, 20 minutes or so talking about throat, speak up. But we've got to talk about listening as well, don't we? Right.
Yeah, it's the two sides. But I also think, because the thing is, the winter and the summer here. Literally, exactly, right? The day, the night, you're in the evening, I'm in the morning, we got to do this.
Yeah.
But the important thing I think to remember then too is that I really believe that the more you're okay with also hearing no and not internalizing it and making it personal, the more you're able to speak out and say, this is what I need. Because you're not taking it personal if someone can't give it back to you. Because it's like, no, this is where I am. I am just speaking from where I am, from my heart, what I need. If you can't give it to me, I wasn't trying to get it from you in the sense of, because this is where it gets tricky and really tangly, especially in romantic relationships. You want the other person to save you. You want the other person to be your knight in shining armor or your princess in shining armor, to come in and just take care of you. And we are encouraged in that, like every single movie. It's like, and it's so nice, isn't it? Like, seriously, when someone comes in and just sweeps you off your feet and does everything for you and like, you are perfect. And you're like, yes, finally. And it is. It's like, okay, because they are doing the work for you. It's like cheating on a test. Yes, you get the initial, I got 100. But then when you need to put that into play in the real life or the real workforce or wherever you have to put what that learning was, you haven't done the work. You can't really do it. And so this is where you really need to be able to say, I need this. But if you can't give it to me, that's also okay, because I'm basically setting up my boundaries, following through with my intentions, and I'm not going to take it personal if you can't give it back.
Precisely.
Or if you never give it back, end the relationship. You know, like if you never get it back, you know, this person's always just no. Exactly. I mean, there has to be an energy exchange again. Like I said, if one person's always just taking, we've got the leech from last week back.
Yeah. Don't bring the leech back.
Yeah.
The leeches are gone, right? Right, listeners? The leeches are gone.
Exactly.
Definitely. But let's bring it. I think I jumped ahead there though, because we should bring it back to basics, that, you know, finding our voice, because as our listeners can probably assume, Sherrie and Kate have pretty activated throat chakras most of the time. And when we don't, Sherrie, would you agree, you get that gulp in your throat, or, you know, a sore throat? You know, at the beginning of my rising, which I you know, timeline back to as Gumboots by the Sea started to become a business, I had tonsillitis. Whoa, like something else, because I wasn't comfortable voicing my belief in spirit. I wasn't comfortable asking for time to meditate. I wasn't comfortable talking about, this one's hard to believe, talking about my business ideas, or even I felt guilty that I was doing something that was other than parenting. I was doing something that was, you know, even though now I can clearly see it's for my children, but at the time, so I had rotten tonsillitis. So just bringing it back to basic for some of our listeners, how would you suggest, Sherrie, that someone starts, you know, testing the idea of activating their throat chakra?
And the key thing is, number one, is to accept that at first you might not be able to, and not to give up. Because when you were talking about that, I was like, okay, I know, because we met each other basically at the beginning of our healing journey with Sarah Kay. Anyone who listened to the instruction knows that. And so, yes, now, a year and a half later, we're like, rah, rah, rah. But, you know, going into that, I crawled into that course. You know, I was just someone who basically gave everything up for motherhood, like everything. And I wanted to. It was not forced upon me. You know, it wasn't like, you know, Patrick's like, I want you to stay home with the kids. No, he was like, are you sure you don't want to go back to work? Like, I support you either way. You might be happier at work. No. You know, and also I felt bad saying I wanted to do something outside my kids. He was like, do you want to get a babysitter? You know, do some writing time. You know what I did with my first babysitter? I sat and watched her. Which is like,
hands up, who's done that? That poor babysitter.
How many? Talk about boundaries being crossed, right? Like, you're like, this, I'm not being paid enough for this crazy lady. Like, you know, like, you are scrutinizing my every move, you know, like,
is this a trial? I don't know.
Exactly, right? So absolutely, I would say right now, accept that it might be impossible at first. And I think this is also when you talk about the cocoon and the butterfly and everything else, and that everyone thinks that when they're in the cocoon, that it's the fact that they're not a butterfly is because they're in the cocoon and they can't be a butterfly. They confuse this phase with permanent life. And it's like, no, actually, the cocoon is getting you ready to be a butterfly. You know, it might take you 3 months, 6 months, 3 years. Everyone's different. But you, as long as you are constantly pushing your boundaries and going, okay, it didn't work this time, try tomorrow. It didn't work this time, try tomorrow. And eventually your comfort zone expands. That's the thing with comfort zones. So something you couldn't do 3 months ago is daily life now. Like I said, we're coming on here now talking about our throat chakra, whereas 2 years ago, complete woo closet. And, you know, like I couldn't even say. Exactly. Right. So it's not that we didn't go through what other people are going through, and we will go through it again with each new level, a different version of it. But definitely you just keep going. You bump up against the comfort zone. You kind of feel along the wall a little bit, go back into the cocoon, do the uncomfortable dissolving, and then burst out again. It's a constant cycle, and accepting that it's a cycle and it's not supposed to be perfect. You know, Anais Nin, perfection is static and we are in full motion. Accept that.
Oh,
Go for it.
love. Yes. Him is an I seen a male? I don't even know.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's a girl. It's a woman. She's
Is
a woman.
it?
Yeah.
Always
Yes.
assumed. See, feminine power. That's
But
power. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that came.
Yeah.
That is recorded. See how ignorance is bliss, lovelies. I've just learned something. Yeah. I love that shift that I've just experienced live here on the podcast. Yeah, love her, and all her quotes. They're like up all
She's
around
amazing.
my space. But I always assumed, make an ass of you and me, but I always assumed it was a male because it's such a strong energy. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm.
But she's a perfect example of the strong feminine energy.
Yes, of course.
And also, like I said, or maybe she had a strong mix of both. I don't know, because and I think that's important. I think that men need to have a strong feminine energy and women need to have a strong masculine energy. And again, the balance part of going forward, but we tend to dishonor one aspect over the other.
And isn't it weird? Because Monk, so let us talk about Monk, my lead healing archetype, which we could just literally talk all night, all day about the healing archetypes of Sarah K. Jones, but was my masculine, and how so much of my rising has been the feminine. And even that I'm like, oh, that was a masculine energy. Wow. Yeah. Quick aside note. So I love that. Like, we're talking about activating our throat chakra. Sherry's going, look, it's not always easy. I pulled a card from the moon deck. I love myself completely and unconditionally. It's not going to happen straight away. You're not going to be like, cool, well, I listened to that podcast. If this happens, I'm really happy for you, and I hope it does. But I've listened to that podcast, and now my throat chakra is activated, and I'm going to go and demand some things and see what happens. It's going to start with complete and utter love for self. Complete and utter love for self. I love myself completely and unconditionally. And it's going to really stem from within, coming into that sacral chakra and saying, I am worthy of a voice. I am worthy of a voice. I have something to say.
Yes. Exactly. And that's hard, isn't it? That's the hard part. Who am I to say I'm worthy of having a voice? Yeah, you are. But it takes a lot to be able to do that. And that's why it's so hard at first, and why it takes such a struggle, because it's so small and so huge. Like everything always is. Like, the biggest stuff sounds so small. It's like atoms, right? These things are massive, and yet you can't even see them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so, okay, I think I'm going to share some practical tips. I feel like there's some practical tips that are just bursting to be shared. First of all, we can just hand, like I often tell lots of people, to hand on heart. We can hand on throat chakra. My voice is worthy to be spoken. Or another little aside, I really believe that clear throat chakra opens up the heart chakra. So it's important that we have that visualization of an open heart allows for open throat. So as you open your heart, you have to be able to communicate healthy boundaries, like we talked about last week. We have to be able to communicate our needs and our desires. And yeah, that all stems from those gut feelings and really having the confidence to tune into it. So a really practical tool is just like hand on throat, hand on heart. I clear my throat chakra. I am worthy of saying or sharing whatever it is. I love when I share these practical tools, and I'm like, are you walking your talk, Kate Donnell? But really, really simple one. One I offer in my healing sessions is my beautiful, beautiful singing bowl, the throat bowl, which I'll, it sounds okay in the recording. Just grab something to hold it on. Funnily enough, though, in all of my sessions, out of the few bowls that I do have, the throat chakra bowl is always the hardest to play. Like really,
interesting.
Really, always. And it is a tricky bowl to play, but there's no coincidences in the spirit world. As far as, see, even now it's like, yeah, well, there we go. We get that. Yeah.
Love it though.
And sometimes it doesn't want to play, which is okay. It brings us back to the whole idea of it's safe to listen.
Oh, nice one, Kate. Yes.
Yeah. right? Yeah, there it is. A little bit of throat chakra bowl in the podcast today. And if you're driving along, or, you know, if you're at home with the kids or whatever, it's just safe to speak up. And even if it is like, I know Sarah Blondin does a great meditation, I love you and I'm listening. Even if it's saying that, I love you and I'm listening. I love you and I'm listening. Yes. So cool.
That's
So
a lovely one.
Tips from me. What about you, Sherrie? What have you got to offer? Any writing, journaling?
Well, yes, the journaling as well. But I was going to say, actually, speaking of, before I lose it, what I do the Serious Joy, his app every day.
Yes.
So he does like Namaste Today on YouTube. And what he does a daily pep talk. And at the end of the pep talk, there's breathing. So he always chooses 3 different chakras to activate that work with each other. And so you inhale, visioning white light coming through your crown, and then it hits whatever chakra you're talking about. And normally, if it is a throat chakra, it'll be your heart. So you breathe in the white light, charge your heart for 3 times, 3 breaths. Then your throat, breathe in the white light, charge your blue throat chakra for 3 times. And then depending on what's going on during that week, if it's like you're feeling unsafe speaking because you don't feel safe at home, or the politics, it might be your root chakra that goes through that time. Or maybe you've gone through a terrible event and you feel really unsafe and unsure, you might do your feelings and do your yellow chakra. Like, so, and that's basically what it does. It's always 3 chakras that link together, and exactly, you can't just clear one, you need to clear the 3 to get them playing nice with each other. We always do that. We always think, okay, because we believe we can pick one part of our life and fix it, and it doesn't happen. It's messy. It's too messy. Like it flows over, and how you treat yourself in one part of your life is different for another part. Like we were saying last week with the boundaries. We were talking about business, but it's the same thing for motherhood or relationships or at work, as opposed to having your own business as an employee. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just messy and fluid, and you can't you need to fix other areas. You can't just go, why diets don't work. I'm just not going to eat bad food. But why are you eating bad food? Like you got to look at what emotional needs you're getting from the bad food. You got to look at, am I too busy and not taking care of myself in other ways? Like it's not just, here it is, and I'm just going to fix that and go on my merry way and then beat myself up because I didn't fix it. Because you didn't really fix it, because first off, there's no fixing. It's just constant bringing yourself back into alignment. There is no fixing. You don't need to be fixed.
And that's been, as I've been listening, that's like on the tip of my tongue, is like, it's all alignment. It's all coming back into alignment, back into heart, soul, my alignment, no one else's. And otherwise it's Band-Aids. It is absolutely Band-Aid. And sometimes, sometimes you need a Band-Aid. You need that quick fix to get through that time of turmoil. But it's when you go, hang on a second, is this, I don't know, this drink or this drug or this binge eating or this lack of moving, is this really serving me? No, it's not. And looking at the whole picture, I think that's why I'm like, let's bring our attention to our throat. Oh, no, there's always somewhere else. And Sherrie, definitely share the Serious Joy love. He's awesome in the show notes.
Connected. He's definitely plugged in for sure.
So much content to have, like a daily app, like with the daily updates.
A daily app with a daily update, and also he does monthly biographies. So based on your rising and your moon sign. He calls it A and B stories, what it is. But basically, awesome. It's fantastic. And like I said, and so you have your daily breathing, and that's been huge for me too. So I get my pep talk, which, like I said, even if it's not exactly what happens that day, the questions he brought up during the pep talk make me aware. And then, like I said, the breathing for clearing. And I think this is huge because, like I said, it's not just the one area. You really got to be clearing everything and looking at, okay, how is this connected? Where do I feel unsafe? Because maybe I was before I had children, I was very vocal in being an advocate for other people.
Yep.
So in that case, my throat was wide open. I could go in. I mean, I was vice president of the academic union for graduate school. I could go in and fight for any single student. When it came to my own academics, mouth shut, took the abuse from the professors.
Right.
Like,
yes.
So you also need to go and go, okay, so maybe, and I did this for big time, speaking of writing as well, is that for a long time, I told myself that I was brave. You know, I flew my motorcycle off a cliff in Mongolia, got back on, and I kept riding. I traveled the world. You know, I throw a tent down in South America and slept outside. I was terrified to write a book. So we also need to look at, okay, where is it closed? It might be open in some aspects, but then as you get closer and closer and more deep to what's really true for you, maybe you're lying to yourself again about what you do and don't need. And I was really bad for that. Going with, I mean, I wrote my first book when I was in grade 8, I think, not even, grade 6, you know, and then I ripped it up because all the other kids were talking about it. You know, so like this is a long pattern for me, but I was only able to claim being a writer a year ago. So it took me like 37 years to tell people I was a writer. I had 10 books out.
I did not know that about you, Sherrie.
Absolutely. I, you know, the teacher teaches what they needed to learn. You know, like,
wow.
Because they know exactly what it feels like and what you need to do to get out.
Wow.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, you just continuously blow my mind. That's amazing. That's amazing. Like, okay, and just for the listeners, the reason I find that so amazing is because Sherrie is the reason that I came out and was like, I'm a writer, and published my first book just last year. So for Sherrie to be like, no, just last year, I'm like, hang on, no, you've been a writer forever, and you have been, but it took you that
I have been, but not claiming it.
To come into alignment and to be able to confidently claim that. Wow. And yeah, great. The great thing for me, because same thing, always had a very open throat chakra, but was never always aligned, and definitely wasn't voicing or articulating what I need. And still I find myself struggling to articulate that at the fear of hurting others or offending others. And doing the work and letting whatever comes up come up, but remembering it's so important that we completely and unconditionally love us first.
And the unconditional means unconditional, guys.
Unconditional.
I was very good at
out condition. It's a tricky one.
Exactly. It is. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was very good at unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
We've got some work to do this week, and let us know if you're joining us in these little challenges, because love ourselves unconditionally without condition. Activate that throat chakra, but see where it has to come from. What else is blocked? Are you not being true to your heart? Where I don't like pointing to my third eye, like when I refer to negative mind chatter, but everyone knows when I'm sort of pointing up here, what negative mind chatter do we have to get out of so that we can move forward confidently, courageously, and compassionately as well, I think, for self, for others, and being able to articulate that.
And I think this is often where we get confused, because when we have compassion for ourselves, we do have compassion for others. And often we're very, very hard on ourselves, very hard. And then we're also hard on others. And I didn't understand that for a long time either, because I was just like, well, why would it be like that? Why would it be like that? And there was also other spiritual leaders that I would follow and be like, one in particular I'm thinking of, I won't name names, but if you read the books, you will know who I'm talking about, because she often talks about basically flipping out on service people. Like, I've read 2 books by her, and both books she's flipped out at service people, and she owns it. You know what I mean? Like, she'll say, like, it was a horrible thing for me to do. And I can remember getting really like, what? Like, who are you to be a spiritual person if you're flipping out on other people? But she is super tough on herself. She is one of those people who's like, if it's not perfect, it's not okay. And she's a big name. So, and I think that for me was also really hard to accept as I read these things from this person, going, what? But at the same time, it also made me realize, wait, if you were that hard on other people, it is going to come out. Even if you're able to be like, okay, I'm compassion. But then as soon as you stop having that mantra in your head, the anger you feel for yourself comes exploding out at somebody else when your defenses are down. And so then again, it's when other people get pissed off at you, remember, it's not you. You know, like, obviously there's something going on over there that you need to be like, okay. Because even if I did overstep a boundary, chances are, if they're really angry, they could have just told you, actually, you just overstepped the boundary, I'm sorry. If they're reacting with real force, that makes you go, it's not you. Because a healthy, happy person will just be like, no, actually, what you just did was a little bit uncomfortable for me. I'm not okay with it. But if they're like, it's not you. Maybe you were the 10th person to do that day, and you just had the unlucky statistics of being number 10 and getting the snap. But I think this is important for us to remember too, because then we project that onto ourselves and others. Like, oh, okay, there I go again. I suck. No, you don't suck. We are human beings. We are struggling. We are all struggling. No matter how enlightened someone feels or seems to feel from the outside, they are still a human being. And again, you know, social media, on TV, all these things, they are controlled. They've got their boundaries up. They've got a projection they're giving out to people. And this is also why I say with the cocoon and the butterfly is that we are seeing the butterfly. We're not seeing the cocoon, and that's on purpose. They don't want you to see the cocoon because, you know, no one wants to be a hot mess, you know, except for reality TV, you know, like.
And then then reality TV is so heavily edited that we're not even getting the reality of that hotness. That hotness is made ridiculed and made a joke out of.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think this is the problem, that we all are comparing ourselves to the person who just ran a marathon before we've even strapped on our shoes and are beating ourselves up. And I think this is something to really remember when we're talking about boundaries, we're talking about, you know, speaking your truth, is to remember that your truth is something that you're totally allowed to unconditionally accept, and it might change. But in order for it to change or not change, you need to unconditionally love and accept yourself first, which is so hard. You know, it's so hard.
So hard. And start just with one thing. For those who are like, that is really hard. One thing you love about yourself. Oh, I'm pretty sure the ritual shared in the moon deck is like rubbing cream in your body and loving every part of your body. It's like, so the flip side of that is like, I love my toes, my ankles, my legs. But, you know, just one thing, you know, one thing, your heart, your mind. It doesn't have to be that big daunting challenge. But what it does need to do is it needs to help you start to believe it, even if you're faking it.
Exactly. And I was going to say tapping there also helps.
Tapping,
I find that.
yeah. EFT is great. Yes. That's such a good one for me in Mama Guilt. Definitely tapping. As soon as I feel it arising, like, exactly. Safe. I completely and utterly love and approve of myself.
Exactly.
Successful human beings. Yeah.
So highly recommend that. And like I said, except it's not instant, you know. Like
definitely not.
Yeah. Wow. At 90 you'll still be going through this.
Surrender and accept. Just let it be. Yep, definitely. Can I just say the internet was perfect for the activating throat chakras tonight and this morning.
This has been fabulous, hey?
Fabulous.
I'm also quite impressed. It's like it was meant.
Spirit is very, very happy with what's going on right now. So for all our beautiful listeners, thank you for joining us yet again, and always comment or reach out to Sherrie and myself and tag both of us, because sometimes we miss the feedback or the comments, and we love hearing them and hearing from all of you. And I think have you got anything else to add, Sherrie? Because I feel like going yours with an activated throat chakra and heart and full chakra alignment.
Exactly.
Happy days.
Yeah, this is the perfect way. I feel actually, beaming here. So we're good.
Yeah, we're beaming. Until next week, beautiful souls, have an amazing week. And we love you so much. Yours from your creative spirit. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.